What widely accepted fact do you know is wrong? Goldfish only grow to the size of their bowls. An average household goldfish will only grow a small amount because the vast majority are malnourished and living in poor conditions. In the wild, a goldfish can grow up to 30 centimeters long and live to around 20 years. The common picture most people have of goldfish is essentially the same, as if you'd only ever seen malnourished children and assumed that's just what all humans looked like. My grandfather had a pond in his backyard. He put goldfish in it when they moved into the house. I was 1 year old maybe. Anyway, they got huge and 2 of them were still living when they moved out of the house 22 years later. My childhood goldfish lived for about 9/10 years. The interesting part is that he turned completely white. I still don't know for sure why. That people in the Middle Ages believed the earth was flat. It was a rather common knowledge since the ancient Greece that the earth is round. Hence Columbus argued that he can find a way to India by sailing the other way. They actually very well understood the circumference of the earth too. That's why people thought Columbus was dumb. They knew it was a really long way to India, but he was sure the earth was much smaller than it was. Literally, dumb luck made him famous. Dumb luck made him famous. That's the case for a lot of people who created inventions and medications. Edison didn't invent the light bulb. He just invented the filament that makes it last longer. Joseph Swan invented the bulb years before. Canadians Henry Woodward and Matthew Evans also invented an electric light bulb, and they sold the patent of that light bulb to Edison. Edison may have made the light bulb more practical, but a big part of his legacy comes from the fact that he was pretty good at credit stealing too. He was a businessman doing business. Dutch sailors didn't hunt dodos to extinction. Their meat was so rubbery they left it alone. They imported pigs and dogs which ate their eggs which it lays on ground, and they had a very slow reproduction cycle. I just read this so many times. Very confused about how anyone could be blamed for hunting dildos to extinction. The next line about rubbery meat did not help fix my pre-coffee brain's interpretation. Maybe the dingus ate those dildos. That's how my pre-coffee brain interpreted it. That a mother bird will abandon her young if she smells a scent of humans on them. This is not true. Find the baby on the ground beneath its nest, gently scoop it up, and return it to its nest, and the parents will continue to care for it. As it has been pointed out in several responses, if you ever find yourself in a position in which you feel the need to put a baby bird back in its nest, be certain that said baby bird is not a fledgling trying to learn to fly, although I imagine it would simply just hop right back out of its nest. My mom used to tell me this to prevent a blissfully ignorant child from picking up a bird that's potentially carrying a disease. Yes, I think this myth was created to stop curious children from disrupting nests. That goldfish have a 5-second memory. It's simply not true. Fish intelligence is vastly underestimated. Some fish can solve complex problems and many can recognize individual human faces. So you're saying they won't forget how we've malnourished them? It's unlikely they'll remember much after death. That yawning simply indicates that you're tired. Sometimes you do yawn as your body is preparing for sleep, but it's more likely that's because we react with a yawn when changing our physical state. This could also be when you become more alert and awake, or when you're breathing differently. That's definitely not the only reason we yawn. It could be for getting extra oxygen into our blood, a reaction to being bored and not getting much stimulation, or for cooling down our brain. I yawned twice while reading this. Carrots improve your eyesight. It was British WW2 propaganda to cover up the fact that radar had been invented. This is just something Big Carrot wants you to believe. Fucking hell, I laughed. There are hot and single MILFs in my area that want to chat. I mean, there probably are. They just don't want to chat with you. I'm not gonna lie. I realized I'm old now when the ads went from hot teens to hot single moms. That picture of a blobfish isn't actually what a blobfish looks like. The enormous pressure from deep underwater help hold its shape, and so when taken to low pressure, well, they decompress. That one picture of a blobfish that's everywhere is actually a dead one. And it looks weird cause all the tissue got tipped off when fishermen pulled it up too fast. Ugh. That cats can drink cow or any other creature's milk. Most cats are lactose intolerant. My wife's a shelter vet, and I can't tell you how many kittens die because of people doing this. This myth really needs to go away. Yes, I don't know where did this myth has come to life, but the inventor was an idiot for sure. Heck, most of us, humans, can't digest lactose either. That you eat 6 or 7 spiders a year in your sleep. How do people even come up with this? It's not false, it's a misrepresentation of the data gathered. The average person eats 0 spiders per year. Spiders Georg, who lives in cave and eats over 10,000 each day, is an outlier and should not have been counted. The hymen is not a paper thin layer of skin that breaks with penetration, nor is that the reason why some women, or in some people's minds, all women, bleed when losing their virginity. This one is more a myth, but it's still widely accepted as a fact from what I can tell. Yes, this one bugs me so much. I tried explaining this to someone on here, and they told me I just don't understand because of my Western culture. Western hymen are different. /s. That cracking your knuckles causes arthritis. A guy tested it, only cracked on one hand for like 50 years. The best part of that story is he did it to prove his mother wrong. Breakfast is not the most important meal of the day. Cooking vegetables in the microwave is not bad for them. The food pyramid is not the most health way to eat. We do not need 3 meals a day. Sculptures were not originally this shade of white we see today. They used to have bright colors before it got deteriorated. True of ancient Greek and Roman statues. Not of say, Michelangelo's David. True. But that's because Michelangelo's David and all the other Renaissance white marble statues were made to look like the old Greek and Roman statues. It was kinda like fan art, based on a misconception. A lot of the wacky litigation stories, like pedo sues child for eating sweets, are not true. Like, burglar sues homie R1 for falling on kitchen knife. Blood is not blue inside the body. Mother insists this is true because her college professor told her that in the 80s. Close bracket. It is blue inside a horseshoe crab's body because their blood is based on hemocyanin, using copper instead of iron like us. This is a lot vaguer, but people tend to view computers as really smart. But even at this point, what we are calling AI is fairly dumb. A lot of programming is breaking down more complex ideas into their most fundamental parts, because computers are way too dumb to understand as much as a toddler could. We use CAPTCHA, completely automated public Turing test, to tell computers and humans apart, because computers have only recently been reliably able to pass them. And even that is such a rudimentary thing compared to what some people expect AI to be like. Imagine being people in the 50s thinking by 2000 we'd have fully functioning AI. Meanwhile reality is that they still struggle to pick out 3 streetlights. CAPTCHA is an acronym? Wowtil. You can see the Great Wall of China from outer space. You can see a soccer ball from outer space if your camera is good enough. Pretty sure the implication of the quote is not using a camera at all. Almost everyone believes strongly that defacing money is a crime. Some will even quote you the law that says it is unlawful to deface money. That's where their brains stop reading. But it actually says it is unlawful to deface money in an attempt to pass that money off as a higher denomination. Shaving down pennies and putting them in a machine as dimes. That's illegal. Drilling a hole through every silver quarter. Keeping that curly silver metal and then spending the coins. That's illegal. Bleaching a $5 bill and printing a $50 on it. That's illegal. I read an interview with a woman who worked at a bank and she said blood-soaked bills were still legal tender. Ah sweet. Now I know whatever I get from today's random encounter is still valid. Shaving your beard will make your beard grow faster and make it more dense. I can see why this misconception happens. / irregular beards. Maybe starting over makes it grow more uniform. Therefore, looking like a better beard. / puberty. Refreshing the beard makes it looks like it is getting better, but is just time acting. And the refreshing helps with the weight. Also the cut ends of stubble look bigger than the tapered ends of hairs that haven't been cut recently. People use only 10% of their brain. I had a boss tell us this at a meeting. Then he said that he wanted us to strive for 11% that day. First, like you'd have any control of that. Alright everyone. Let's make sure our lungs are 13% more efficient today. Second, it was freaking Walmart. Good luck. 11%? Guess I'm not doing S today. The map of a tongue. Everyone thinks your tongue can pick up tastes in diff places. Salty, bitter, sweet, etc. But in reality the taste buds are just mixed all over your tongue. I actually tested this when I was a kid and realized it was bullshit. Ugh. The amount condiments I ate in that sitting was gross. That platypuses is wrong and platypy is correct. People love correcting platypuses. But it's freaking correct. Platypy is only accepted because it's commonly used. Edit. People have pointed out that since platypy is commonly used, it's correct. I don't have strong feelings about platypy. I'm mainly bothered when people correct platypuses. If you go back to the original Greek, the plural should be platypodes. But no one does. GMOs aren't evil. Literally every living organism, yes, that includes plants, has genes. And sometimes you can replace one gene from one plant with that of another plant to make it survive low temperature. For example, genetically modified organisms will not genetically modify you. You're not going to grow a third leg or have a brain tumor and die. Edit. I was talking about whether or not GMOs are bad for your health. Ethics are the whole other thing. Fact. Peanut is a bean. It is not a nut. That story about the bystander effect, where 38 people witnessed the murder of Kitty Genovese and none of them called the police. In reality, there were much fewer than 38 people. Most of them were unaware that the fight they were witnessing was a murder, and at least 2 people called the police. But the bystander effect does still exist. There's actually some commentary that the full story is in itself related to the bystander effect. A lot of journalists knew it was fake, but didn't want to be the ones to call out that it, and just passed on information to more senior journalists without telling the public. It's bystander effect all the way down. MSG isn't bad for you in moderation. It was racist propaganda against Chinese immigrants to get them to lose business. People really love using outdated bullshit from over 70 years ago while ignoring new data and more advanced research. Dude, I had a friend who swears MSG was terrible for your health. I told him what it was and how it can naturally happen and the science behind it. He just looked at me like you're just a chemist, you don't know everything in science. Many reports on Google say it's bad for you. You're just a chemist, which includes knowing what chemical building blocks are a part of things. What does he think food is made of?